This small sculpture in the Garden of Gethsemane introduces the next scene in our journey with Jesus. In Mark chapter 14 we read, "When they had sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. You will all fall away, Jesus told them, for it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep will be scattered." They went to a place called Gethsemane, and Jesus said to his disciples, "Sit here while I pray." In Luke chapter 22 we read, Jesus went out as usual to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. On reaching the place, he said to them, "Pray that you will not fall into temptation." He withdrew about a stone's throw beyond them, knelt down and prayed, "Father, if you are willing, take this cup from me, yet not my will, but yours be done." An angel from heaven appeared to him and strengthened him. And being in anguish, he prayed more earnestly, and his sweat was like drops of blood falling to the ground. When he rose from prayer and went back to the disciples, he found them asleep, exhausted from sorrow. "Why are you sleeping?" he asked them. "Get up and pray, so that you will not fall into temptation." The Church of All Nations was built over the site where Jesus prayed that night. It was built with contributions from nations around the world. Through these doors, adorned with ironwork in the shape of olive trees, pilgrims enter in silence. In front of the altar is a huge area of exposed bedrock. Could this be the place where Jesus prayed and wept? It is certain that this rock is ancient and is in the garden. Each year pilgrims kneel to pray, remembering Jesus' agony and perhaps some of their own sorrows. Into the darkness of the night, Jesus prayed and wept, while the disciples, full of the Passover meal, slept. But suddenly there was a commotion. Soldiers with blazing torches to light their way came swarming in from the gates. Across the Kidron Valley they came to arrest the one called Jesus of Nazareth, and in front was Judas leading the way. And with a kiss, a gesture usually meant as a greeting and a sign of affection, the final betrayal was made. The soldiers bound the prisoner and led him to the house of the high priest, Caiaphas. Today, the church of St. Peter Gallicantu is located over the area to the south of the city where the ancient house of the high priest stood. Gallicantu means the cock crowed. Remember this account? Peter had followed the soldiers and saw Jesus taken into custody. He hid in the shadows but was noticed by a serving girl. She remarked in his Galilean accent and wondered out loud if he was one of Jesus' followers. Peter swore 3 times that he did not know the man, and after the 3rd time heard the cock crow. Luke chapter 22, verses 60 through 62 recounts the moment. Peter replied, "Man, I don't know what you're talking about." Just as he was speaking, the rooster crowed. The Lord turned and looked straight at Peter. Then Peter remembered the word the Lord had spoken to him, "Before the rooster crows today, you will disown me 3 times." And he went outside and wept bitterly. Under the church are areas carved out of stone, dating from the 1st century. The cubicles on the left were used as jail cells to temporarily house prisoners. Remember that it was late at night when Jesus was arrested. It is possible that Jesus was brought here to be detained. Prisoners were sometimes abused by the soldiers, as we read in the Gospel of Luke. The men who were guarding Jesus began mocking and beating him. They blindfolded him and demanded, "Prophesy, who hit you?" And they said many other insulting things to him. Near the cells is an ancient cistern carved in solid rock to hold water. But cisterns had another use. Remember when Joseph's brothers threw him down a well? That was a cistern. And here in the house of Caiaphas is a cistern. It was a secure place to hold a prisoner with no door, no window, deep and dark. And into this well, it could be that the soldiers lowered Jesus, as shown in this mosaic in the courtyard, so that they might rest while the prisoner was secure. Today there is a narrow metal staircase by which pilgrims may descend into this pit and read from Psalm 88. I am overwhelmed with troubles, and my life draws near to death. I am counted among those who go down to the pit. I am like one without strength. I am set apart with the dead, like the slain who lie in the grave, whom you remember no more, who are cut off from your care. You have put me in the lowest pit, in the darkest depths. I am confined and cannot escape. My eyes are dim with grief. I call to you, Lord, every day. I spread out my hands to you. Your wrath has swept over me. Your terrors have destroyed me. All day long they surround me like a flood. They have completely engulfed me. You have taken from me friend and neighbor. Darkness is my closest friend. In the darkness of this pit Jesus remained until the first light of dawn was visible through the hole in the roof. The morning of Good Friday had come, and the trials had only begun. Join us again next time as we begin the journey with Jesus along the 14 stations of the Via Dolorosa, the Way of the Cross.